Good morning. It's Saturday, the 9th of December in the year of our Lord 2017. 3 weeks to go, people, and the year ends. God, it's been a long year. This is Shootin' to Breathe. I'm your host, TakersMinion. I'm always joined by my co-host, the man from the right in the land of the rising sun, Mr. Dr. Senju. Good morning or good evening to you, sir.
Evening. Well, good midnight. Anyways, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
Tired, a little bit buzzed.
Yeah, I know you were at the bar with your girlfriend tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And
I took an hour break, so sue me on it.
I'm not going to sue you. And that other sinister laugh is known by many, or known by few, respected by many. Crazy Chris from Two Guys, One Sport. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, guys. The snow
And thank
is
you
falling.
for joining us.
Yes, indeed. Thank you guys for having me. The snow is falling. The temperatures are low, but we've got all the hot takes to keep you warm this morning.
Oh, God, do we have hot takes this week? Woo!
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, considering the fact that I thought this is going to be a little bit moment of reprieve, but then again, let's talk about those hot takes that we are going to dish out.
The biggest one is a net neutrality.
Yeah.
After hearing Chris's and George's show on Thursday, I did some searching on the interwebs.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, moms and dads.
Uh-huh.
If the FCC votes the way it's looking, eventually this show will go away because of cost prohibitiveness.
Yeah.
At least that's how I understand it. Chris is more informed than I am. So, Chris, the floor is yours.
All right. Essentially, what we're talking
and
about
Robert's
here,
rules apply.
Yeah. I'll do my best to keep it as short as possible. This is a very complicated issue. I'll do my best to keep it succinct. Essentially, what we're talking about here is a series of provisions put in place by the Obama administration to ensure that cable companies and internet service providers would not be able to add additional fees to browsing the internet and going to certain websites or putting certain websites into what's called slow lanes unless they paid extra in order to make sure that their content was delivered at the fastest possible speeds to all users of the internet within America. Those provisions were put in place, as I said on Thursday, to keep the internet free and open for all users, regardless of their intent and purpose. The new head of the FCC, who is a former bigwig at Verizon, wants to take all these provisions out of play so that he and all of his cronies at the top of big cable and all of the politicians that they have in their pockets can make extra money off of additional fees for internet usage and or force people off the internet entirely. Now, how this affects all of us is threefold. Number one, all of social media as you know it changes and or goes away, because then you have to start either paying extra or dealing with ridiculously slow speeds for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of your video streaming sites, YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, Twitch, all of your audio streaming sites, SoundCloud, Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all these things all are at risk for either having to pay additional fees in order to continue. You have to pay additional fees to continue to access them or deal with them being in these quote-unquote slow lanes or not being able to access them at all. Secondly, independent content creators like me, like you guys, like everybody else that we know who does wrestling podcasts, all the people who are running small to medium-sized streams on Twitch, everybody who's running small to medium-sized channels on YouTube, all of the people running Patreons, all the people with Etsy shops, all these people who are trying to do independent content creations, whether for hobbies or for business purposes, they all are put at an immediate risk of being unable to create their content and thus being forced to shut down their venues. Because, again, either they're paying additional fees to access the places where they need to publish their content, or they are forced to deal with their content not being able to be accessed by their consumers because it's in the slow lanes. So if I have to pay extra for our show to be broadcast on YouTube on Thursday nights and then to go on to SoundCloud for syndication to iTunes, 2 Guys 1 Sports shuts down. If you guys have to pay extra to put your site up, Shootin' Debris gets shut down. Facey's Wacky World of Wrestling, all the wrestling podcasts, and this also goes for anything that you guys use. I neglected to mention on my first point, all the streaming sites that we use for watching wrestling, like New Japan World, Stardom World, Demand Progress, RPW On Demand, all those sites that we use for watching wrestling on demand and streaming on the internet, all will be in the same boat there. Even the WWE Network, although, who knows, maybe with Vince's cronyism with all the guys in 45's administration, maybe he'll get a free pass, but, who knows.
Probably.
Either way, those 2 are major points, but they are not nearly as important as the third. And the third point is this. The free spread of information through the internet would be impacted forever by the repeal of net neutrality, because the control of all of the news websites and all of the editorial websites and every place that we go to find out about what's going on in the world would now be in the hands of a small group of corporate cronies who can decide which sites they want to be able to freely disseminate their information without any penalties, and which sites will be forced to deal with the slow lanes or will be forced to pay extra for access, et cetera, et cetera. This immediately becomes an issue of, information control. And we all know what happens when a small group of powerful people is in control of the spread of information and news. We all immediately are at risk for not being able to find out what's truly going on in the world around us, what we need to be active about, what we need to be, fighting against, et cetera, et cetera. There are so many ramifications to what this impacts, because it would give virtual free reign to, anybody who is in a high position of power to do or say anything and have it be published in the way that they want, as long as they have the ability to, because they have much more ability to control the message at that point in time. The big thing that's been going on over the past year is that, people who have said things or done things are having their incidents outed to the public through a lot of these news websites and investigation locations. And without the ability for those places to function properly, corruption is going to become even more rampant than it already is.
Yeah.
So I beg of you, anybody who is listening, please make sure that you call your Congress representatives and senators. Get in touch with them as soon as possible.
Don't forget the FCC.
Yeah, definitely contact the FCC as well. Make sure that they know that you are strongly opposed to the repeal of net neutrality provisions, and make sure that they are aware of just how serious the ramifications for this are. I don't care if your congressional representatives and senators are, diehard supporters of the repeal of net neutrality. I don't care what their positions are. You still need to make your voice known, because remember, in the end, Congress works for us. The president works for us. We are the people who elected these individuals, and they have a responsibility to each of us to make sure that our voices and our opinions are met with. And the vast majority of the public does not want net neutrality repealed. Every major corporate tech CEO and expert says that the repeal of net neutrality is a horrible idea. The overwhelming opinion about this is negative, and the only people that want it are the people who are going to be abusing it in order to make extra money, regardless of whatever lip service they may pay to the whole concept of, just because we can do it doesn't mean we will. Yeah. We all know what the truth of the matter is, and we know where this will go if this is allowed to go, if this is allowed to be repealed. So please, of course. Take this seriously. get in touch, get active, do whatever you need to do. There's even an easy way if you are not really comfortable with making the phone call, or if you are not really comfortable with sending an email, or not sure what to say or anything like that. There's a wonderful tool that you can use called ResistBot, whereby basically if you send a text message to 50409 with the word resist in it, ResistBot will allow you to compose whatever you want to say through a text message. You can send it to ResistBot, and it will send it off. It will identify who your congressional representatives are, and it will send that message off to them via email and via fax, and make sure that they get it, so that you can make your voice heard, even if you are not really comfortable with making that phone call or don't have the resources to, get them an email or anything like that. Doesn't require any additional downloads or apps or anything like that. Just send a text message, and ResistBot will guide you through the rest of the process. It's one of the most powerful tools that has been out there. I've been using it pretty significantly myself over the past 6 months or so, and I highly recommend it. So, yeah, please, guys, take action on this as soon as possible. Don't wait. The vote is coming up next week, and we really cannot afford to treat this lightly.
Yeah.
So, that's my spiel.
Folks, if you want to keep podcasts like Shootin' the Breeze, Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling, Two Guys, One Sport,
or even upcoming shows,
upcoming podcasts, alive and well and healthy, please let the Congress know we need it done. We need to protect the web. It's supposed to have been a free flow of information forwards and backwards to everybody in the United States. This needs to be done. And Chris, we will have you repeat that text number. I didn't get a chance to write it down. You can repeat it at the end of the show.
Yep.
So we can do that, and it'll also be part of the description of this show today, and it'll be posted in other forums across the internet.
I mean,
because we don't need to go back to the AOL days where you're paying $20 a month to access the freaking internet, and you're limited on where you can go.
Yeah, this would be. I mean, everybody's going to be paying. Everybody already pays for internet access. We don't need additional fees on top of that just to get to individual websites. That's the kind of thing that exists in certain countries right now. I think, speaking to somebody who lives in New Zealand, and they showed me a diagram of like, you can, in order to access all these websites, you have to pay this much a month to get like this package. It's like, it's almost like paying for your premium cable packages. Like if you want to add an extra set of channels, you pay this much extra a month. That's what this is. It's like, if you want to be able to access these websites, pay this much extra a month. And
exactly.
Well, here's something I could put to people here in the United States. If you like going to your free porn sites to watch porn, which I am against free porn because I know a lot of people in the industry. Yes, I'm outing myself. I know a lot of people in the adult entertainment industry who are against this. But if that's how you see your porn, imagine having to pay $30 extra a month to watch your porn.
People don't.
That is possible.
Well, yeah, I know. It is possible, and it is a dreaded future that we might have to face. Because
imagine having to pay $10 extra a month just to listen to us.
Yeah.
And for us to have to pay $25 a month just to have the high-speed lanes that are needed to get this show out to you, lovely folks.
I mean,
this is what we're looking at.
Or just basically paying $10 just to watch porn.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's no laughing matter, even though it is some sort of a laughing matter. And for those folks who think that it's just going to affect the United States, oh, no. If this passes, what will the other countries think? Oh, we can actually do this to commercialize on our side of this country.
Yeah. Well,
because
even more than that, though, I mean, The United
One.
States is already viewed as a laughing stock by many of the world because of what has happened over the past year. I mean, this is just going to be even further along with the whole concept of, you know, the United States is just becoming like a corrupt corporation, and it's not actually, you know, being run like a country, and citizens are being treated as, you know, as subjects rather than citizens. So, you know, we have done, like, not we, but the people who are in charge in this country right now have done so much damage to our reputation across the world, as, you know, as what used to be one of the most well-respected nations of, you know, the entire world. We instead are now the laughing stock of the country, of the world, and the only reason why people will still deal with us is because we have that gigantic fucking military force that people need in the event of, you know, global conflict.
Yep, exactly.
We're the world's police department.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. I
And
mean,
we shouldn't be.
well, yeah.
But that's another story for another day.
Yeah, we can talk about that next week. Maybe Chris will have you back.
We'll see
There's a
about
lot
that.
to talk about. I mean,
Shootin' the Breeze Politics Edition.
being a former Marine myself, I completely understand that shit, because I'm about to say something that, you know, shouldn't be no longer classified. It happened about 30 years ago, over 30 years ago. It's awful funny when a complete air contingency battalion of the United States Marine Corps is sent down to Panama for jungle warfare training, and it's around the same time that Noriega is put into power. Figure that shit out.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that you can just figure it out for yourself. Because here's the thing.
I go lock my door so that the
military police don't come for you.
Not gonna come. But on a serious note, it's gonna affect everyone, even if this passes. It's not.
I'm saying when right now.
Yeah, basically, we're gonna say when. When it passes, it's gonna affect everyone. Basically, not just the way you consume your internet will be affected. What content you watch on the internet will also be affected. Yeah. Because you want to watch what you want to. You want to have the freedom to choose whatever you want to watch. That's your basic right. You have the freedom to do that. If this passes, the country itself will choose what you want to see, than you yourself would want to watch or digest content to your heart's content. If that happens,
what's the last example we have of state-run media that we can think of in the last century? Oh, right. Wouldn't that be Germany during World War II or the Soviet Union?
Soviet Union.
Both of them. Yeah, both of them. Because I'm not, like I said, Taker, you once said this. This is not really politically inducive podcast, because we're just talking about shit that we want to talk about, which is wrestling. But sometimes in the context of worldviews and whatnot, these things are very worrisome, because if we're not careful, that would happen. State-run government, state-run countries like former Germany and former Soviet Union and all that. So the effect still runs up even until now. And we're just about coming out from the whole deep dark trenches of the World War II era, and then again this comes in.
Well, yeah, if you think about it, look at what I told you earlier this week. You know, I watched a video here on YouTube that had to do with about the nuclear, about, you know, the first atom bomb and the only nuclear weapon ever used, which was by us. And the primary, one of the first targets that they actually wanted to hit was Kyoto, Japan, which is where NBS lives. I was stunned. I was stunned.
Yeah. But the explanation actually is quite simple. At that time, Tokyo was the capital of Japan, the capital of modern Japan. But still, again, back then, Kyoto would be stated as the symbolic capital of Japan, because it formerly was the high seat for the imperial power in Japan. So bombing Kyoto sends a big message.
Yeah.
If they do that. And number two, you won't see MDS in Kyoto, probably somewhere else in Japan.
If Japan survived, that's another thing we talked about.
If Japan survived that, because again, the impact of it will be huge. Because someone brought up a good quote if that happens, and I remember that I pulled that one out. A building without people is meaningless, but a building where people revere and watch over it, blowing up that building sends a huge message.
Yep.
Not just to the other people, but to the people in the nation as well.
Just look at 9/11.
Yep. Just look at 9/11.
Exactly.
The Twin Towers has a lot of meaning for the U.S. citizens back then. So the act of blowing it up, that sends shockwaves everywhere.
And if we'd dropped the nuclear bomb on, or the atom bomb, they call it then, on Kyoto, what would that have done to the Japanese public? It would have galvanized them against the United States even harder.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's funny because, by all accounts, and I've done a lot of reading and research about the use of the A bomb at the end of World War II, and by all accounts, most of the military advisors in Truman's administration were against it and said that it wasn't even needed because most of the citizens in Japan were already, urging the emperor and the imperial government to surrender and to end the war. People have made a big deal about the whole kamikaze attacks and saying that Japan was ready to fight to the end if necessary, but that was only a very small selection of the government. There was overwhelming public opinion against continuing the war, and by all accounts, it was believed that the imperial government would surrender sooner rather than later if the blockade continued. But Truman wanted to send the message not to Japan but to the Soviet Union and to say, "Yeah, we've got this. So, be ready for it and don't try and fuck with us." And so that was why the bomb was dropped twice, for that matter.
Just to send a message, basically.
And it's terrible that the cost of hundreds of thousands of lives was required for Truman just to send a message and start the Cold War like that.
Yeah, I agree.
I totally agree. I mean, was it a mistake at the time? Maybe not. But
desperate times calls for desperate measures. So there's that.
But in the end, was it a mistake? Yes.
It was. Because loss of hundreds of thousands of lives just to send a message, a strong message that we will not back down. At that time, you already had blockades. You already had supplies being stopped to and from Japan. And at that time,
the war was won.
The war was won. And of course, people were saying that the Pearl Harbor attack is just the counter. It's just the reaction. The bombing is just the reaction from that. It's just that no, it's not that. Japan just wants to send a message. You just reacted with the whole knee-jerk reaction where they bombed Pearl Harbor, let's bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki for that matter. And if they bomb using kamikaze pilots and just normalized bombs,
if you actually think about it, the war was over after Midway.
Yep, after Midway.
It's just that Japan didn't want to face the fact.
Yep, and again, taking Chris's points into account. Yes, at that time, most of the general populace in Japan were ready to say, "Okay, I think we're already losing this war. I think we should renegotiate or just reaffirm. We just change a little bit of our stance." I think the general populace was that. Higher ups, for that matter, no, we're gonna fight to the death.
Tojo was an idiot, but we all know that now.
Yeah, of course.
We digress.
But we digress. Back to the whole net neutrality thing. Yes, if we're gonna face the whole thing again, I wish that people don't just stop right at December 14th, but continue on, because this whole thing about internet being a privilege to the rich and to the worthy, to the ones who pay more just to get their content out there, it's gonna it's gonna make things worse for how we consume media and how we disseminate media, for that matter.
Yeah.
Is it not? And it's not gonna affect just the U.S. It's gonna create a ripple effect when it happens, and it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be terrible. But well, we'll just hope to see what December 14th brings. I mean, this is all just kind of like a money grab. It's just for big companies to. How best do we want to make money? I mean, we're already seeing the whole thing. You and I can relay on this one, Chris. We're already seeing the whole thing in gaming conventions and gaming companies.
Yeah.
They're already starting with the whole loot crate things, where people are saying that this is actually a form of gambling.
Yeah.
Just to tap on, the good feeling when you get something good out of a box, and then you buy it again and then again and then again, just to get to that first rush of you getting the best thing from the same box. So something like that. It's basically just companies making cash grabs out of everything.
They are, and it's honestly it's to the point where, like, there are plenty of gaming companies that are just releasing unfinished games just to maximize on the hype that exists for that game and the advertising, and then they spend months and months and months fixing all the issues that players have with games, and they end up cutting so much money out of what they could have had if they had just taken the time and released a complete game that didn't have any problems. So it was not supposed to be like this.
It wasn't.
It's not supposed to be this way. But
I mean, here's the thing. When was the last time you get to a game store, you buy a complete game, and then you just play it for about 10 to 20 hours, and then just play it? When they have fixes and when they have bugs and glitches, they have patches to fix it, and then that's just it. The patches and the fixes are just to change the codes inside, fix the whole buggy issues and all that, and that's just it. It's just updates and updates and updates and updates. And then you don't have those stories with DLC. Of course, you have DLCs a little bit, but it's just the DLCs are there just to expand on the original game rather than unlock content nowadays.
Yeah.
Because nowadays you see DLC as, this is just a content unlocker for things that they've already locked into the whole code of the game. So
the reason why I play Borderlands 2 as much as I do is because the game was released as a complete game, and then the DLC that came out for the game added on to the game and made it even bigger than it was, to the point of almost making it twice as big as it was.
Yeah.
And the game was released and had added on almost no problems. They had it right. They did it right, and the things they did made sense.
Yes.
And there are so few companies out there that will do that nowadays.
And same as I do, the reason I play Diablo 2 vehemently, Diablo 2 and Diablo 3 vehemently, is just because, they added a little bit of packs and all that, but it serves just to expand the game as a whole, rather than you add in content into the game which you suspect has these kind of things already built into the game. It's just that they want to lock it in. That's it. You want to just extract money. And that's also the underlying reason why I don't really go to games like Destiny 2, Destiny and Destiny 2 most likely, and also EA Battlefront nowadays and Battlefront 2. I don't really go to that games because I think that it's just not for me, because I don't see myself going to buy a half-finished game and then me paying more just to get it finished.
Yeah.
Because sooner or later, it's going to end up being Game of the Year edition, where everything is complete. Then you're going to spend the whole money just to buy that complete game. And that is a total waste.
It is.
To me, I think focused on that one, buy a complete game and then just fix this patches. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to invest my money in things that are half done. If the game is done and I enjoy it, and then you want to add content to it, I'm more than happy to add my money into the content. That's why.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not just gaming companies; it's companies as a whole. It's just this is just another case of cash grabbing, and just the same as net neutrality. It's the case of big companies making cash grabs out of everything, and now they're moving on to the next thing, which is the internet.
Well, let's look at it like this. those of us who remember K-Side Live,
Mhm.
and Chris, you remember that.
Yes.
Imagine having to pay $10 to get the stream, $10 a week to get that once a week stream that Sean Reuter and Gino Morasco used to put out about just about Raw. And sometimes it was an hour, sometimes it was almost 2.
Yep.
Imagine paying $10 extra a week just to get that. Imagine paying $10 to $15 a week to get this show, or Two Guys One Sport, or Fizzy's Wacky World, or any of the new ones that are coming about that we are aware of.
There's so many things that are just
Or
wrong right now.
Not your demographic, paying $20 extra a month to get them.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is what this whole new web neutrality thing's about, guys.
Yeah.
it is. It's basically that.
New York's finest.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Trying to make sure that people can get up and down the streets without spinning out their cars and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay. But, well, the important thing I think we should sound out.
Chris, it's amazing. Everybody who lives in places where we get snow, you, myself, even MDS for that matter.
I get snow in January.
But how soon folks forget how to drive in it?
Oh God, yeah, it's amazing. It honestly is. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I think you have to pause for about 5 or 10 minutes thinking in the car, where am I going now since the snow is clogging up the roads? Probably here.
Safest way, the easiest way to drive in snow, and this is coming from someone who drove 18-wheelers for 11 years, is slow down.
Yep.
That is the easiest way to get through snow, is slow down. People, if you live in places that snows, slow down.
Not that hard.
Get there. You may be late, but you'll get there in one goddamn piece.
Yep.
I think that's the underlying issue with the current generation now, or probably people at home. They're not patient.
Nope.
I think that's the whole thing.
Not
I know,
It's the biggest issue.
Not just in wrestling. Okay? There's a lot. There's a lot of things that people are impatient about. I mean, roads, jams, clogging up on anything. I think you can't sit down and be patient. Okay, this is gonna take a while. Okay, maybe we'll do something else. Let's do something else about it, just to keep my time going, rather than this is taking way too long. I'm complaining right now because this is taking way too long.
Yep.
And that's going to be the problem if web neutrality gets eliminated.
Yep. Because people are, the whole scope of the people now is that they're impatient with the whole media consumption. If things don't load as fast as they wanted it, they'll move on to something that's faster. I think that's basically
but it's going to cost them more money. That's the problem.
Yeah, basically that's the shepherds herding the sheep into the places that they want to go to.
Imagine listening to our show or Chris's show where it's like, and this happened on Raw with all the skips and everything involved with it.
Buffering,
buffering, the non-stop bufferings.
Exactly.
Yeah. All the buffering in the world. Yep.
That's what we're looking at, people.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Probably just one positive way to say about it is that I'll pay for what I want to get. Probably I'll pay for the speed that I want to have. I don't want to pay extra. I don't want to play more. But when I want that speed and you don't want it, and the only way to get that speed is to pay more than what I have currently, I mean, that's just shitty. You're just extracting money out of me just to give me the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I pay for higher speed internet through my internet service provider Optimum. I don't like paying for it, but because I do streaming and because I do the podcast, I want to make sure that I have the highest possible upload and download speeds, so that my content gets out with the best possible bitrate that it can get. And now to have to think about paying on top of that even more, it's like, well, at that point, why even bother? Why would I even want to continue doing those things if all I'm going to end up doing is just, you know, wasting my time and wasting my money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the whole thing. You need to pay for what you. I think most of us would agree that we like to pay for what we want, for the services that we want. Affordable pricing. That's it. That's the focus. I mean, if we're paying the same, if we're paying higher to get the same thing later on in the future, I think that's a shady way to go.
Yes, absolutely.
We're gonna get pissed, but then again, sooner or later, it's gonna be the normal. Rather than pay like say $50 for about 1 gig or 5 gig of internet, then you have to pay $100 for 5 gig or 5 gig internet or whatnot, something like that.
Yeah,
it's a future that we dread, but if we make it into a point that we don't want this to happen, I think we have to make a stand for it.
Yes, absolutely.
Which hopefully that would happen. Well, but I digress, considering the fact that we're going to talk about more shitty issues going in. Well, there's another point. I think
GPW.
I think Fizz and Sal has touched this before back in their show, but I think we can touch it again, considering that we're going to go into the whole schmuck that is Glory Pro Wrestling and the story about Michael Elgin's alleged sexual harassment issue case.
He was not. He did not commit the assault. There was another story about him out there of him doing something really shitty that
allegedly
it deserves to be told. No, there is record of it if I recall correctly.
Okay.
But either way,
Elgin
has proven himself to be an absolute shitbag for trying to cover up an assault that happens, and for victim blaming, and for just being a general asshole about the whole thing.
Gee, a general asshole in the wrestling business. Go figure.
Who would have guessed? I know. It's crazy.
I mean, it's one thing for you to be involved in an alleged sexual harassment assault case. It's another thing for you to actually block or kind of like discredit the whole thing altogether and cover up for the issue. That's a whole lot of shit cannery, for that matter.
Yes.
That's another level of shit cannery.
It absolutely is.
Why? I don't understand why the whole underlying issue that you have to cover up for this particular student of yours who allegedly has raped a sexually assaulted a fan, for that matter, I think.
Yes.
And you have to come in, you as one of the promoters of the whole wrestling promotion that you have, you're going in and saying, oh, it didn't happen. That's, I mean, the most that you should do is cover it. The most that you should do is support or make a case, find out if it's true or not, rather than discredit the whole thing.
Yeah,
discrediting the whole thing just adds fuel to the fire that people won't believe anyone who actually has a case that they're sexually assaulted. They have been sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
Of course, I'll say it time and time again. I'll point to myself, I'll consider the whole innocent until proven guilty, and that sometimes in some cases people cry wolf when it comes to sexual assault. But it's going to harm my point of view if things like this happen, where people cover up for things that actually happened or allegedly actually happened.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If something like this was to happen in WWE, what do you two think Vince would do? I have my opinions, and I'll share them after you share yours. But what do you think Vincent Kennedy McMahon would do?
I think it would depend on if it was publicized or not. I mean, if something happened in the locker room and it wasn't publicized,
I'm talking about the same exact situation where a fan is accusing a wrestler of sexual assault.
Huh.
Okay.
Isn't this a situation that we're dealing with here?
If it became publicized like that, then I would say that there's a strong likelihood that Vince would. I mean, because we've seen what has happened before with this. I mean, Adam Rose was accused of sexual assault, and he was suspended until the investigation was completed. And so we've seen how that happens. I mean, I'm willing to bet that Vince is not happy about having to do that thing, especially if it was somebody who he considers to be one of his favorites, because we all know Vince has his favorites. But all the same, I do believe that,
in the end, he would hang him out to dry, as Mike Elgin should have done in this situation.
Yes,
of course. I mean, here's the thing.
If he was proven to be guilty, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Even with the Adam Rose case, I think the way that WWE suspended him is just their way of saying, "Oh, we have nothing to do with Adam Rose and his sexual assault, the allegations of sexual assault. What he did was what he did, and we suspending WWE suspending Adam Rose at that time was their way of saying we distance ourselves from him."
Yes,
that's what I see. That's how I see it, because I think,
and in my opinion, that's the smartest thing you can do.
It absolutely is. Yes,
it's the absolutely smartest thing to do, and absolutely the smartest thing Vince McMahon would do, because
Elgin honestly, like, it's one thing when it's a giant corporation like the WWE, but for a small Fed like Glory Pro that is very reliant on a local fan base and is not getting a ton of people to travel from all corners of the countryside to come and see it. For a small company like Elgin's company, they are even more reliant than most on fan support, and it is paramount that they maintain a positive relationship with their fan base. Exactly. And this is not going to do that for Elgin in any way, shape, or form.
Of course not. This is basically just making use, burning all the bridges with your local fans, and then just putting your company at risk.
Yeah,
there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just putting your company at risk.
Do we want to give like the background and the details on this for those who may not know it?
Sure. I think we have a little bit of background. Yeah. What you got?
Essentially, what occurred is that a fan of Glory Pro goes by the name of Mo. She was at a show. I want to say it was about 9 or 10 months ago at this point. And she was assaulted by a Glory Pro wrestler by the name of Sean Orleans.
Okay.
Now, Mo went to Michael Elgin and told him what happened. There are details of this. There's text message documentation of this taking place. Mo went to him and told him what happened. And Elgin told her that he was not going to do anything about it, and he was distancing himself from the issue, and he was not going to address it.
Yep.
And then he sold the company to some of his students, right?
No. There's more to it than that, right? Because there's much more that happened in between those two events. So about a month ago, I want to say, Mo went public with her story, and Elgin, in that moment, was forced to release Sean Orleans from Glory Pro. And then there was even more back and forth between Mo and Mike Elgin via direct messages and text messages. And he basically went on a big spree of victim blaming her for the incident that occurred. And that in and of itself right there is the biggest sin that he could commit. In that when someone is accused of sexual assault, the worst thing that you can do is tell them that it is their fault that it occurred. It is the most heartless and heinous thing that a person can do when someone has undergone that kind of trauma and that
LOL, Bram.
Yeah. I'll get to him.
Oh, we'll get that to that later.
We'll get there. We'll get
to that later.
Believe me.
A lot of
Believe
things.
We have
There's
a
of
lot,
things.
reprieves for people. My ass.
Yeah. No. Yeah. The whole thing, honestly, just it just
Tell
it
us
just
how you really feel, Chris, please.
it's is absolutely one of the most disgusting and unforgivable things that I have ever seen take place in the wrestling business on any level. Elgin should be absolutely ashamed of himself for even like considering that this was an okay course of action, because, like I said, you do not victim shame those who have undergone the trauma and horror of a sexual assault. Number one. Number two, you don't ever question their story and say that it's not real, because that not only does that make the victim less likely to want to continue to handle the business and make sure to see it through to the end, but that also discourages further other victims from ever coming forward about their stories.
Can I say something?
Trying to address those. Yes, please.
Yeah.
I know I'm probably going to get yelled at for this, but my wife is a victim of rape when she was 15 years old. And it took a long time for her to get past it. Hell, she was still dealing with it when we met, and we were both in our 40s. And I've been with her the 29th of this year. I will have been married to her for 11 years. She is the greatest person in the world. And I've made her understand that it wasn't her fault because she was blamed for it. I made her understand it wasn't her fault and that she is a beautiful person. It took me a lot. It took me 2 years to do that. So I understand from the victim side, victim shaming is wrong. It's not their fault. It never is their fault. And if anybody tells me it is their fault, they can kiss my hairy fucking white ass. Pardon my language.
No pardon necessary. You're absolutely correct.
I mean, I'm all for innocent to proven guilty, but things like that where you shame victims, where you just,
it always happens. That's the problem. Yeah. It always happens. It happens all around the world.
Yeah.
You discredit the whole thing as if I'm not going to believe this. I'm not going to believe that until I see proof. That's not the way to go. It's just that, okay.
It's not.
It's not. Even though you're going to stand and say, I'm not going to believe you until you show me proof that you've been raped. No, that's not the way to go. The possible way to go is just, okay, let's sit down. Let's see where we can do about this. Let's investigate. Let's find out whether the allegations are true or not. If you are, then I'll support you 100%. I'm just here to find the truth and help you out. That's it. That's how you're supposed to go. And people who are just victim shaming about the whole sexual harassment thing is really, 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 really not really going to go in my positively good books.
Not at all.
No, I mean,
I have been accused of sexual harassment when I was in a management position. It was a bogus goddamn charge. But in the end, because it was a woman who accused a man, the standard, and I'm going to say this, and Chris, you can agree or disagree with me, as can you, MVS. The standard for a woman accusing a man versus a man accusing a woman is completely and 100% different.
Of course.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There is still in this country and in many other places in the world, unfortunately, but it still does exist. There is a vast disparity between the credibility that is assigned to one gender over another, or to man or woman. I don't want to assign gender binaries. I'm not going to be that person, but
it's easier I'm going to say it. It's easier for a woman to accuse a man of sexual harassment than it is the other way around.
Yes, that absolutely
Yes.
is true. Yes,
That is absolutely correct.
but by the same token, also, well, I mean, regardless of the accusation that is made, and this is the worst part about it. But regardless of the accusation that is made, sexual assault is very frequently, and it ends up being one of the least believed. I guess this is the best way to put it. Is one of the least believed criminal accusations that can be made. What there is always that burden of proof that is placed on the victim, and the stigma about sexual assault, especially here in the United States, leaves many people completely unable to overcome the case or do anything about it.
Exactly.
And that is why this is wrong. Because in the end, I said this on Twitter yesterday. I'll say it again here. Consent is non-negotiable. I don't care who it is. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care about any semantics that a person wants to give. Consent is non-negotiable. Whether you're talking about somebody who is incredibly virtuous or someone who is incredibly free about their sexuality. I don't want to hear any of that shit about, oh, she posted nudes on Twitter or on the internet or anything like that. I don't want to hear anything about, oh, she was going after him and was being very sexually forward with him. I don't care about any of that shit.
Basically, it
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who the person is. It doesn't matter what they do or what their activities are. Consent is non-negotiable. End of fucking story.
You're exactly right. And I'm gonna say something here that only a few people know, but I'm gonna put myself out there. My wife and myself have worked in the adult industry.
Okay.
We've done webcamming in the past to make ends meet, to pay bills. Are we proud of it? No. Is it something we had to do in order to to pay bills? Yes. And let me tell you something. I myself, and if people want to follow Takers_Minion on Twitter, you will notice that you have to request a following. It's because I had women stalking me.
Oh goodness. That's not good at all. That's not oh.
I'm putting it out there, people. I have a history.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people in the industry that have done the same thing because of that. I will not name names because I respect their confidentiality. People in the adult industry are not out to have threesomes, foursomes, gangbangs. They have lives other than what they do on video.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone has lives outside of their occupations, no matter what.
Exactly.
And there's nothing to be.
I am not ashamed of what I did. I am not ashamed of what I did.
Yeah, and basically it all boils down to the whole thing. You do what you have to do, number one. Number two, shaming anything is just a no-no. It's just no. Don't shame.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't just shame people just because because of some shady reason that you may or may not believe at all. Just don't shame, because basically, number one, don't judge people if you don't want yourself to be judged.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. Judge not lest you be judged.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's in the Bible.
It's also just one of the basic rules of life. Don't be a dick.
That's putting it That's putting the bluntest.
Judging people for what they choose to do with their personal lives is being a dick.
Chris, I'm going to say this to you, and don't take it the wrong way. I love you for that statement.
Thank you, sir.
It's true. I mean, it's true.
There's a reason why, if you watch Progress at all, there's a reason why the primary, why the primary motto of Progress is "Don't be a dick."
Yep.
Granted, they themselves have their own difficulties with living up to that on occasion, but for the most part, they do a good job of not violating that principle.
Well, we can look at Vince and say, well, he's been a dick on occasion.
Yeah.
He has been a dick on occasions.
Yeah.
Let us turn to Bram. Chris, tell us how you feel about Bram.
Let me tell you, sir.
Okay.
I've been waiting for this.
Let's open up the can of worms right now. Let's open up the can of worms.
If you did not listen to Thursday's edition of Two Guys One Sport, where we talked about our end of the year Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards, let me repeat the diatribe that I had when we started talking about the most disgusting promotional tactic of the year award.
Oh, please do. I heard it, but please do.
I'll reserve the judgment until after. Go ahead.
I heard it. And yes, it was fantastic.
Same. I'll reserve that as well. So go ahead.
Yeah.
It was all yours.
Robert's rules.
Insane Championship Wrestling in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
You were once one of the most well-respected promotions in the entire British, Scottish, Irish wrestling scene that is out there. You were once the promotion that I myself considered signing up for your on-demand service for, because you book Kaylee Ray, who's one of my favorite women's wrestlers, and you book her fiance Stevie Boy, and a lot of other very talented and excellent wrestlers within the British wrestling scene. You have had a great history, and I respect that a great deal, and I wanted to support your promotion. And then, at Fear and Loathing 10, you decided to book Mr. Thomas Latimer, a.k.a. Bram, the admitted domestic assaulter. The man who admitted in an interview to committing domestic assault on a woman. You booked him at your promotion. And not only did you book him at your promotion, you booked him to win a ladder match for a #1 contendership for your #1 title. And how did you book him to win this match? By having Session Moth Martina, one of the most beloved female faces in the entire promotion and in the entirety of British wrestling, period. You booked her to turn heel and to help him win the match through dirty tactics, becoming his partner in mischief. And as if that wasn't bad enough, you decided to film a backstage segment where you had an interviewer walk in on Bram seemingly receiving a blowjob from Martina in a locker room backstage. For what purpose? To attempt to capitalize and monetize on the shock value and notoriety of Bram's reputation as a domestic assaulter. Unfor-fucking-givable. Unexcusable. Not okay under any standards of decency or anything else. I don't care if everybody was consenting to the scene being filmed in that way. I don't care what the end goal of it is. You shouldn't be booking a guy who is admitted to committing domestic assault and who can't be charged for it because all charges were dropped and he was only admitted to it after the charges were dropped. You shouldn't be booking him in the first place. But on top of that, you shouldn't also be trying to capitalize on his criminal reputation in order to put more eyeballs on your promotion purely out of notoriety. That's some ECW level bullshit. It wasn't okay back then, even if it was a different time. It wasn't okay back then. It's not okay now. I don't give a crap what you guys think your justification is. This is not okay. Especially especially to turn a beloved face into his sexual partner and partner in criminal activity. Well, criminal.
No, not his sexual partner, his sexual toy.
Yeah, essentially, yes.
Essentially.
I mean, what the fuck? Who wrote this? Who thought this was a good idea? Because whoever it is, I got a few words for you, and they're not nice. They're not pretty.
Well, here's the sad thing. Here's the sad thing. Wasn't it just like a month ago that Pete Dunne and Triple H showed up at an ICW house show?
Yep.
Yeah.
And now let us see how long it takes Vince and company to run away from them.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. Even this is just this makes my blood. This makes my blood boil. This makes my blood boil. Yeah.
Yeah. It is so wrong. There is no absolute description to describe how wrong it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This leaves me with the worst taste in my mouth because
shit.
You have done what most companies would never think to do because it's already been proven as being a terrible idea.
Uh-huh.
The principles that were espoused in the 90s and the 2000s by companies like ECW or WCW or even WWE of going for shock value booking and of being just blatantly disregarding of societal norms and expectations.
Well, shit. Didn't Paul Heyman have what was it? Come on, I want to let you do a striptease at a show in the bingo hall at one point because of something happened to the ring.
Yeah,
maybe. I'm not as familiar with that time period as you are, Taker, but all the same.
If you want to find out, go to WWE Network and look up the rise and fall of ECW.
Mm-hmm.
It's in there.
All right.
Uh-huh.
She didn't get totally naked, but the fact remains that it was done.
Yeah. I mean, hell, we've got freaking what do you call it? How many examples do we have from WWE itself?
Too much.
Trish Stratus barking like a dog for Vince McMahon.
Trish Stratus barking like a dog.
The Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club.
Yeah, we also had
on the desk for Vince McMahon.
Don't forget what the hell's her name? Sable.
Sable
wearing the bikini that only had hands on her boobs.
Yeah,
please.
Edge and Lita sex party, live sex show.
Yeah, live sex show with Edge and Lita. Yes.
There's a lot of reasons.
Believe it or not, Lita and Edge both were naked.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. This is the kind of shit that happened in the 90s. We don't need promotions doing it now.
No, we don't.
Women are to be respected.
Yeah. And
they are athletes. They are athletes. They work just as hard, if not harder, than the men do, for God's sake.
Yeah. And we don't need men who are shitty examples of humanity being given these platforms of being raised up and
no, you're right.
And given spotlight.
That's
not how this is supposed to be.
You're right.
It's hard to argue something that's right. I mean,
and so much for reprieves, eh?
Yeah, no, exactly.
I mean, okay. Here's my take on this. Just simply, what the fuck? What the fuck's happening? I mean, we have moved on from like 10 years back then where wrestling was supposedly edgy.
Years.
Yeah, supposedly almost 20 years ago where people say that the whole sex, drugs, and rock and roll life was seeped into wrestling where, you hear about all the cases where there's sexual conduct, sexual misconduct happening everywhere. People kissing ass, literally just trying to get ahead of themselves. I don't know. But then again, when we just moved on to becoming a much more sensible, a much more, how to say, a much more better oriented fandom as as someone who digests wrestling every single day. This thing happens where who the hell thought that the best idea to put out a promo was to put out someone who's better known as a babyface out in the British Isles, or Scotland, or basically out and around Europe, as a heel who's giving someone head.
Yeah.
You're basically saying that this is okay. The good reward for a good job well done is sex. You're promoting that to the masses.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck are you thinking?
It's
Who the
inexcusable.
hell wrote this thing?
It's inexcusable, as I've said.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you wanted to put eyeballs. I'll always say this because it's where I always stand when I'm working. Any kind of publicity is good publicity, be it good or be it a bad kind of publicity. It keeps you talking. It keeps you in the conversation about it. It might not be the correct way of doing it, but you're doing it and you're talking about it. Letting Bram, a known sexual offender and a known abuser, get involved into this kind of promo, this kind of sexually charged promo with Sessions Martina. We don't know whether, again, like you guys said, we don't know whether they're consenting or they're not consenting or they're just doing it out of what's best for business. Yada yada yada. Bullshit happens. Whatever.
Well, let me just say, the whole British wrestling scene right now needs a fucking kick in the ass because there are a number of people within the British wrestling scene that have just this horrible, horrible practice of defending Bram and taking his side and believing him to be permissible. I myself, I got into a very long and ugly discussion on Twitter with Viper about this issue.
Oh,
because she, in her infinite wisdom, took the tack of, he's always been nice to me, so I don't know why he's being accused of this now.
What?
Yeah, this was a few months ago. So
no, whoa. Time to fuck out.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is someone who is trying to get into WWE and NXT, and she's taking the side of a known sexual someone
offender
who is sexually assaulted or is a domestic. Actually, it's domestic violence that he was accused of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Viper, are you out of your goddamn mind?
I mean,
Chris, help us get her on this show. We'll grill the shit out of her.
Listen, I went through for
to the point she will
hours.
She will leave. She will leave because
I went for hours on this with her. Like, it was a long ass discussion, and it was not pleasant.
Chris, I have another confession to make.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm not proud of it either. You know, I'm putting shit out there today, folks. So, you know, judge me if you will, but you can't judge me because I've already been forgiven for what I've done. In my very first marriage at the age of 21, while I was in the Marine Corps, now I'm not giving this as an excuse. I drank heavily. I was, drunk most of the time. But I knocked the hell out of my first wife on more than one occasion. I'm not proud of that fact. I did it. It's something that's part of me. Okay. I have since learned the signs on the road to that. And when I see them coming, I try with all my might to avoid it. It's something that I'm not proud of. It's something that I've done, and if you, MDS, or you, Chris, think less of me, I'm sorry.
No, it's I understand that we all have our demons. We all have our sins of the past.
Yep.
The important thing is to learn from them. And it seems that you have. And I'm not going to judge you because you, first of all, I'm not one to judge anybody. I've always taken the tactic of, in the belief that I, as a person, have my own demons, my own sins that I've committed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to judge anybody for the fact that they have done things in their past either.
All I wanted to do was make this real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said back,
I'm sitting here on the verge of tears because I've done that. And it's out there for everybody to know now. I kept that to myself. And it's hard to admit that you've done something like that in your past. It is so hard.
I believe it.
Of course it is. Like I said back then, you don't judge others unless you want to judge yourself. And I applaud you for this because you changed. You learned from the past.
I work hard on it. I mean, not to say that I haven't slipped. I have, and I'll admit that too.
I mean,
but I worked very hard.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But here's the thing.
I'm on the verge of tears right now, guys.
Okay. Here's the thing. You learned. Taker, you learned. You learned from the past. You learned from the sins. Each one of us have our sins and our demons to face sooner or later in life. Just that in this case right now, it seems that the British wrestling as a whole hasn't learned from any kind of their mistakes that they're doing with the whole Bram issue. I mean, hell.
Not at all. Not in the least.
I have my opinions on that, and
I mean,
it's funny, and both of you are going to laugh at this when I say it. It's almost like the British promotions are trying to go back to the Attitude Era of WWE, and it's not going to work for them because today's society is so against that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this is the wrong way to do it. This is exactly the wrong way of going the way of the Attitude Era. Attitude Era, to me, I think it's more characters. Because you have these larger-than-life characters that you connect to, you recognize. Because there's no two characters that are similar in a way or same. Back then, and you gyrate to them. You just lean against them. You are magnetically drawn to them because these guys are larger than life. They have personalities. They connect to you in one way or the other. And that's what the biggest appeal of the Attitude Era is. Not the whole sex, drugs, and rock and roll kind of thing. No. That's not it.
Yeah.
And if they are, and if the European wrestling as a whole, I'm not just talking about the whole England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, or probably German or anywhere else in the Europe have this kind of mentality. This is not the right way of going, harkening back to the Attitude Era. No. I mean, hell, this is prevalent in small wrestling promotions back there. I mean, ICW, number one. Number two, What Culture Pro Wrestling, WCPW, has that kind of issues as well. With the whole,
they have plenty of those.
They have plenty of those. Their promoter, Adam Blampier, has that kind of, has allegedly done something like that too, but still alleged.
No, not allegedly. He admitted to it.
Yeah, he admitted to it too. And
there's a lot created a giant shitstorm for the woman who called him out and accused him because for whatever fucking reason, and this is why I am so just fed up with a lot of wrestling culture these days. But for whatever fucking reason, even after he admitted to it, there are people who are vehemently defending what he did online and saying that he did nothing wrong and saying that the woman who accused him is full of shit and should have never come forward and gone after him and all this other crap. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That you would, first of all, after a guy admits to doing something, say that he didn't do anything wrong, even though he admitted to doing it. Granted, his admission was bullshit, and he was, and just there's a lot of problems with what he said in his admission. But nonetheless, he did admit to it. And for you to then come forward and say not only did he do nothing wrong, but that he doesn't deserve to be criticized for it, and that the woman who did criticize him should, shut up and go away, it's fucking abhorrent. I hate dealing with these people. I honestly and truly hate it because they're just the worst.
I mean, here's the thing, though. When I think we both can agree on this. When we both say that the whole federation thing, the whole mentality of the carny business promotion of the whole wrestling promotion with the carny thought process slowly and surely getting thrown out from the Western side of wrestling. It's showing up in European wrestling. Not all of the promotions are doing that. And I applaud it. And I applaud some who are sticking to the guns and thinking, this is a business. This is a serious business. We're here to make money. I'm here to provide my people to make money. Any one of my employees that are working in the wrestling business, they want to come here. They want to make money. They want to make their name for themselves. That's it. You're not. And then there's ICW, who's trying to be edgy, trying to make a name for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
It's
inexcusable.
And it's inexcusable. It has no reason for being in here in the topic of conversation at this time of point in year or time period. Yeah. There's no such excuse. There's no reason why you think that is a good idea. It could bring you a lot of topic of conversation, discussion, but it's not the morally right thing to do. It might have been the correct thing to do on paper to get you the attention, to get you the press, to get you in the topic of conversation. Well, but to me, I think we can underlyingly agree that this is not the right way of doing it.
It's not. It's not in the least.
No, it's not. And I have to say something here. Madeline Lenoir just thanked me for my candor in the chat. That is not something I share with everybody. Well, now everybody knows.
Yeah. No.
It hurts. It hurts me inside still to this day. And that's 35 years ago.
Still, here's the thing about demons, though. It's still going to be there. It's still going to be in you. It's still going to be a part of you. What's different is that how you deal with it. Each and every one of us has our demons, has our sins, has things that we're not proud of doing. The only way you can go up against it or rise above from it, cliche word aside, is that you just take up against it and just get over it.
Just as long as no one judges me for that.
Oh no.
That's all I ask for. I've been forgiven by the person. I'm friends with that person to this day. What happened.
Exactly.
And
here's the thing.
Me and the woman that was involved we're on good terms. I've been forgiven. That's all that matters.
Which is a great thing, and that's all that matters. Agree. Here's the thing, though, Taker. What happens? Here's the thing. Here's the thing that you should remember. You have no way. You have no technical or even the ability to go back and change what you did 35 years ago. No. You have no technical ability. You have no physical or even scientific ability to go back 35 years in the past and change what you do. No, because what happened. The only thing that you or all of us who has sins that we're not proud of can do is just remember what we did back then, move on from it, learn from it, and then move on. Be better than yourself. Be better than yourself back then.
Exactly.
That's all there is to it. It's basically this.
I
You
try.
learn from yesterday.
That's all I
Yeah,
can say is I try.
I know. You learn from yesterday what you prepare for the day in order for you to look into it tomorrow, into your life tomorrow.
Yep.
That's it.
Let's get on to wrestling now, shall we?
But, okay, I digress.
Actual wrestling.
We've really actually dug the whole thing. I mean, with what net
I mean,
neutrality and then digging deeper.
We have dug up a lot of my, and it's nothing against what's going on in wrestling in general. But a lot of my skeletons have been dug out and exposed. And if people have a problem, that's on them, But we need to move on to Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and 205 Live. Damn it.
Yep.
Okay. Let's touch on
the actual things that have gone on.
Let's try to build this on a positive note the rest of the way, shall we?
Certainly.
Sure. Certainly. Okay. Quick note before we nitpick on both Raw, SmackDown, or even NXT for that matter. I think I enjoyed this week's Raw. I enjoyed it a lot. I know, Taker, you haven't watched SmackDown this week.
Well, I missed. There was a screw up of I screwed up in reprogramming my TiVo. So I got the last hour, but not the first. So I missed a lot of it.
Okay. I think SmackDown is a decent show this week. Can't upstage Raw for that matter. I think Raw is the better show this week.
Raw was good. Raw was great.
Raw was great.
The thing about that's funny with Raw, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, they gave every match time.
They did, which I was happy about.
Which is an unusual thing.
Yes, that is definitely not an expected outcome. But you know what? I'll take what I can get. That's my thought process at this point, because I've gotten used to seeing a lot worse from Raw and SmackDown on a weekly basis.
Oh yes,
I'll take what I can get.
Well, do you think maybe? And I have a question for you, Chris, and you can answer this. Honestly, you can give me a bullshit answer. Do you think they're trying to make Raw look really good because the 25th anniversary is coming up?
Oh, absolutely, 100,000%. They are absolutely trying to do that.
Yeah, and I think so.
Let's hope, because I guess later on next year, SmackDown reaches 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means.
Are they going to build that up as much as they did Raw? That's the question.
I have no idea.
One would think
Hoping one would think so, yeah. But here's the thing. Yeah, that would be nice. But here's the thing, though. I think the nitpick that we can touch on first, because Raw, we're gonna go on Raw first. The nitpick that we could touch on first would be the whole thing with Finn Balor versus Bo Dallas. I mean, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Why?
Correct me if I'm wrong here. To me, I think the argument saying that Finn Balor isn't really used, is mishandled, is kind of like a little bit of an overreaction. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Even though if I can say it for sure that WWE Creative's use of Finn Balor has been one of the biggest travesties of the second half of 2017.
Oh, it has.
It has been terrible for him booking wise, but how is he still over despite all the whole creative being shitty with Finn Balor surprises me. And to me, I think the whole argument about Finn Balor is being misused. Finn Balor has been booked so terribly on this whole thing. It's just kind of like a knee-jerk reaction. He's still getting responses. He's still getting over. And it seems to me that he's in a good spot. He's just happy with what he's getting now. So
I think that, honestly, it's an issue of, and we've seen this plenty of times with lots of other people, but I think that honestly it's an issue of people are not getting what they want and they are reacting because of that. And it's, I hate seeing that, obviously, we all hate that, but that seems to be what's going on here, is that, the people are not getting what they want, and so they are, reacting accordingly. And it's stupid, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean I mean that leads back to I think 2 weeks ago with the show with you and Taker, or actually last week, Taker. You and I did this, where we're talking about how fans are quick to disagree or get dissatisfied over stuff, over things that they see about their favorite wrestlers that they don't like. Like
yes, the Smart Show. Yes.
yeah, the Smart Show. Yes. Like, for instance, Bailey's being booked terribly as well. Bailey's been the biggest question that you raised, Taker, is then how do you book him? Even though the answer is okay, book Bailey better. How do you book Bailey better? Usually, most of the time, some of the smart would go, I don't know, book him better, or book her better, for that matter. And yeah, the argument again comes back into full circle with Finn Balor, where you have legions of fans of Finn Balor, and still people are saying that, I don't think Finn Balor's been used well. This is how I want him to. He should be in the main title picture. He should be doing this, should be doing that.
Yeah.
Him being on the main roster on a consistent basis, I think, is a win already. A small one, but a win already.
It is.
And going so far as to say that Finn Balor has been misused, even though I have to agree that creatives think, I don't know, understand how creatives thought for the second half of 2017 with the whole booking with him has been shitty at best. And yet at least in a positive sense, I say that Finn Balor hasn't really been buried or been burnt into a crisp.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet, anyway.
Not
okay.
yet. Yeah.
Okay, not yet, anyway. His presence in Raw shows almost every single week is always a win, and the whole thing about him being booked terribly, overreaction in my opinion. And also, and to quickly add to people who listen, I terribly nitpick. So if you nitpick on this thing a lot more than I nitpick, it's gonna be a little bit.
Who cares if you nitpick on it? If they don't like it, they can suck wind. I told you that before.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, other than that, even though people are going to argue about it, and again, I don't think there's a lot to say negatively about Raw this week.
Someone in the chat, in the live chat, said the problem with Balor is once he returned from his injury, Raw's main event landscape dramatically shifted. Long story short, Braun Strowman took his spot. Actually,
it's hard to disagree on that one because it's true.
Exactly.
Well, even more than Braun Strowman, they brought Kane back into started doing dumb shit with Kane now for whatever reason. That's one thing I will never understand. With why they continue to give Kane this massive thing. It's just like, what's the point?
And then Madeline goes on to say, I think they understand the Demon Balor. They understand the Demon Balor has something unique about him, but they don't know what to do with the regular Finn.
They don't.
Exactly.
He doesn't have a hook, so to speak.
Exactly.
I would agree 1,111% with that, because Finn is so over as, and I hate to say it, boring as Finn, and he is more over as a demon.
Exactly.
Which takes me back to what I said. Have the demon take over. Slowly but surely.
Yeah. I mean,
Booking 101. George, it's simple. Like you said, George, it's simple.
Your partner always says
wrestling is simple. WWE makes it complicated.
Exactly.
That is the honest to goodness truth.
I love when George says that because it is so true. You could do it so subtly that you see it in his eyes, and he gets who is it? Oh, the Good Brothers.
Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows?
Yes. Gets them to join the Balor Club.
Mm-hmm. It's a good fix. It's a good suggestion to fix both of them being mired in the whole anonymity issue of booking.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is an option, but right now they're just gonna go with the whole duality that regular boring Finn Balor is one thing, and the special attraction is Demon King Finn Balor, because they're trying to capitalize on that.
Is that how many times has Finn Balor said every time he brings a demon out, he loses part of his soul?
Lots of times.
I don't know if I can even buy into that, honestly.
Yeah,
it's really silly. It's really
yeah,
silly.
but
some would have to suspend your disbelief terribly just to get.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, if he does it, if it happens where we see it,
if we saw it, that would be one thing. Yeah,
saw it in his eyes. Also,
we don't. See
every
it.
time the demon shows up, his eyes change a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit, to the point where it's a demon that is actually in control of Finn.
Yeah.
Finn the man.
Yeah, it's a good story to go to. It's just that
listen, Vince, this is a good idea. Listen, God damn it.
He won't.
Yeah, he won't. But I digress. There's not many. I don't think there's a lot of nitpicks or a lot of issues that I would want to say. I think even Braun Strowman destroying Eliason with the whole promotion.
Oh God, that was hilarious. That was absolutely hilarious.
Even that was hilarious.
Elias hits him with the guitar, and Braun just stands there and goes, "Yeah, right, motherfucker."
Yeah, that was great.
Good stuff. That was good stuff.
Yeah, well, and again, like you said,
Jordan jumping Roman from behind was brilliant.
Yep.
I don't know if that was brilliant or idiotic, because 1 second before that he had said, "I don't attack people from behind" to Samoa Joe, and then immediately what does he do? He attacks a dude from behind.
I think it was smart booking, to be perfectly honest with you, because they have got to do something with Jason Jordan to get his ass over.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm seeing a little bit of Kurt Angle's heelish kind of persona in Jason Jordan. Just
exactly. So am I, and that's the thing about it that makes it so good. It's like that's something that Kurt Angle, the heel, would have pulled off back in the day. God damn it.
Yeah, he has intensity, intelligence, integrity, and then yet he attacks people from behind.
Exactly.
Classic Kurt Angle right there.
Exactly.
Classic.
And Chris, if you want to find out more about Kurt Angle, go check out the network.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen a lot of that stuff. I know all about that. It's hilarious to me. They're doing so much of the same shit with Jason that they did with Kurt. It's funny. Oh yeah, I believe
There's a lot of, and it's a good way. It's a good way of re-injecting Jason Jordan's character back into the whole main roster picture again.
And the thing about that's even going to make it better is that he always goes running to "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy."
Fucking nepotism at best.
Yep.
I mean, goodness gracious. If you think that the McMahon family is terrible at nepotism, Jason Jordan takes it a step further and just runs to his alleged dad.
Oh, yeah.
Every single time everything is going.
That's what makes it brilliant. Overall, the whole
and like you said,
the Kurt Angle, Jason Jordan angle at first was looking like shit.
It really was.
But now that they're doing the slow burn heel turn with Jason Jordan, it's working out brilliantly. I'm sorry, I have to give the writers credit and props
on this one.
They're doing it right. They finally figured out, hey, this shit ain't working. Let's try this. And oh my God, it's working.
Hey,
I agree.
take it.
I mean, man, like you said, Taker, this all took time. Every single segment on Raw this week took time.
Yes,
and it did.
And it's worked out beautifully.
I agree. So nothing.
It was almost like a pay-per-view.
Almost, yes, almost like a pay-per-view. But,
because there wasn't a lot of promo bullshit.
Thank goodness for that.
There was more in-ring action on Raw this week than I've seen in months.
Yep, agreed. I enjoyed Raw this week. Just for SmackDown's sake.
I only saw an hour of it because of a screw up on my DVR.
All right, never mind. Well, let's go on SmackDown then for next, because to me, I think this week it's not really a great show. It's just a paint by the numbers kind of show. I believe, in my opinion. Because Chris, what do you think about it this week on SmackDown?
I honestly don't even know what to think about SmackDown anymore. They've just turned into such just garbage. It's like there's no effort. There's no effort being put into this. Honestly, the product has suffered so much from the fact that they just refuse to give any sort of like thought or prior knowledge to what's going on in front of them. It's terrible. It really is. But
I mean,
this is why we voted SmackDown as the worst weekly show this week when we did our awards, because they're so far off the rails. They're so far off the rails. I mean, the only thing that they've really got going for them right now is like the whole idea that Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan are gonna come to some sort of collision with each other, but they're doing it in a way that is in and of itself idiotic, because they're having Daniel Bryan be the bad guy here for supporting Owens and Zayn. And what the fuck sense does that make? Please, somebody explain to me, because I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I mean,
Who wants crazy billionaire tyrant Shane McMahon? Who wants to support crazy billionaire tyrant Shane McMahon? Who wants that?
No one. It's not us. It's not me.
Wait a minute, MDS. We might have someone. Miss Google herself.
Wait, what?
Ms. Google herself.
Miss Google. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Chris, you don't know who that is, do you?
No, I do not.
You had her on your show.
Oh, Jen.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
When Shane first made his first reappearance, I should say, she was on our show and she's like, I didn't know who he was. I had to Google him.
So you're saying that she's going to be one of the only ones who's going to support Shane McMahon just because, now I know him. Now I know who he is.
Exactly.
rather than the dancing son of a millionaire who dances into the ring. So.
Exactly.
Oh Lord.
Okay. Oh Lord. Point taken. But okay. The only stretch, and this is the furthest stretch that I could take, is that Daniel Bryan seems to connect with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn because all of them were in the independent scene back then. That's one of the stretches that I can give.
Well, I think that's what they're going for, but it's stupid.
Yeah, like I said, it's a long stretch.
A very long stretch.
A very long stretch, in my opinion. And I can't see the point where Daniel Bryan is going to support Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn just because we grew up together in the same independent scene back then. And this is why I support you. Those kind of thing. That, to me, that is one of the longest stretches, longest bullshits that I can think of. And even I think that's ridiculous in a sense.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is.
Yeah. And the only thing that I could think about to shout of for this week's might probably just be New Day and Rusev Day, the tag match between them, and that's it. As a wrestling sort of standpoint, the rest of it's average. Baron Corbin versus Bobby Roode with the interference of Dolph Ziggler, that just sucks.
Oh God, get that shit off my TV.
That's just terrible. I mean,
it is.
What shit off your TV? What shit off your TV? I missed something here.
Ziggler.
Ziggler interfering on Corbin and Roode, like
basically, really? Yeah.
Basically I think to be perfectly honest with you, Clash of Champions, Ziggler's there to eat the pin from Roode.
I hope so. Although I don't know why.
Because Wiley Corbin doesn't need to have the title anymore. He ain't done shit for it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Why are they bothering to protect Baron fucking Corbin, who is, more boring than a box of rocks?
Without the rocks.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. Even though some would defend Baron Corbin, I know that someone would because he's one of to this particular person. He's enjoyable enough. It's just that he's bland.
Well, he can't be any worse than damn Adam Cole.
Baby.
Oh God.
He said the catchphrase, so I'm off the hook.
I'll say it. Here's the thing.
I have to tell you, Chris, on our show.
I know
I say
penalty box. I know, or
I get fined.
Whatever.
Fined.
The fine box. Yes.
And no one has been fined today.
Yeah, I'll accept that. But here's the thing.
You'll eat the $20 fine. Okay.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I accept that because I actually don't mind Adam Cole. Like he's not the most entertaining guy in the world. He definitely is, below average in a lot of cases. But he still gets the job done, and people still enjoy his presence in the ring. So, I'm not gonna fault a guy who's going out there and doing what he does well, just because it's maybe not my cup of tea. At least he's putting in the effort. He's putting in the effort. He's living up to the gimmick.
Yeah,
that's the most important thing.
Yeah,
when you get right done.
And of course, I'm gonna eat my words and go as he's supposed to be doing his job to kind of like grade and make you think that, oh, who's the one who's gonna beat him up next? Adam Cole did his job well. That's it.
Yes.
So
he always does his job well.
Yeah.
He is excellent at that. Yeah.
I mean, oh my goodness, fuck. I did not understand how I skipped this, but yeah, the best thing about Raw, I totally forgot this one. We seen Broken Matt Hardy get woken.
Oh yes.
Oh God, you made the same kind of laugh that he did.
It happened.
It happened.
I am looking forward to Bray and Broken Matt going at it.
But here's the question: would it be?
But we all know the end. We all know the end. The ultimate payoff.
The final war.
Bray Wyatt's going to lose again.
Thank God for that.
Of course, because I don't know when he will win. I don't know when he get the win.
What feuds has he won? None.
He did won that one match with Finn Balor on a televised show, but that's just it.
Yeah.
He did win that one, but he didn't really
where he dumped the bucket of viscous liquid.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Literally the least effort that has ever been put into anything. That is what we are.
People, it was stage blood, okay?
Yeah,
it was blood. It was fake, but it was blood. God damn it! Let's just say what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fault. You can't fault Vince.
It's just liquid. Thanks a lot, Michael Cole. You asshole.
You can't fault Vince McMahon for finding a new book of phrases in the year 2017 and not expect him to use it. He will use it.
Yeah, but it was asinine. Would you not agree, Chris?
Oh, absolutely was.
Do you think he'd care? Do you think he'd care?
Of course he doesn't care. Of course he doesn't give a shit.
Viscous acid liquid sounds good.
Why ever would he care? Please tell me why he would care when he has shown his inability to care about literally anything else in the past 3 years.
Because he wants control.
Or more.
He wants control over everything. He hates not being in control.
This is why he needs to be run over with an 18-wheeler. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud?
TakersMinion once drove an 18-wheeler.
Yeah, okay, all right. So then we've got the man with the tools for the job. Let's get it done.
Get me the truck and trailer and the exact location of it, and I'll gladly do it.
Stamford, Connecticut. He's there every day.
Yep. He doesn't leave for work.
He's not on the ground fucking floor.
Oh, that's the problem.
Well, then we'll just need to find a way to equip your truck with rocket boosters or something.
Probably.
You know who would be perfect for this?
What?
Medusa.
Who? Oh.
She drives a monster truck.
What monster truck?
Catches that for the goddamn limo. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That leaves. Would you want
lit. It's lit.
Okay. Would you want an 18-wheeler or you want a monster truck? That's the biggest
monster
question.
truck would take care of Vince's limo.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
I believe it.
All right. Anyway, I digress.
I am on
SmackDown-
board.
Yeah. Ominous.
By the way,
Ominous plans for
I'm gonna say this,
assassination.
Vince, we love you.
No, we don't.
Ominous
Fuck
plan.
that guy.
Ominous plans.
We're
for
off the rails.
Ominous plans for assassination aside, SmackDown has nothing to shout about. I think people are going to comment about some of, not most, if not all of the segments. They're just decent. I think it's as expected for coming to the end of the year season, because this is the year that everything is kind of looks like by the numbers kind of thing with
Yep.
each of their shows, because Vince is secretly cooped up in Stamford, Connecticut, plotting his big big takeover of the world with whole Royal
25th
Rumble.
anniversary show of Raw.
Yes, number 2. But he's planning on world
That's-
domination next year.
You guys know that's happening 10 minutes from my apartment, and I'm not fucking going.
Whoa, why?
Not at all.
Are you
Why?
out of your fucking mind? I would go.
Do you recall the number of diatribes I've given about Brooklyn wrestling fans? About
okay.
about
Yeah,
fans at the wrestling
recall.
shows in Brooklyn?
I remember. Yes, I remember.
Trust me when I say it's a bad idea for me to go to that. I promised you that. It is
Okay,
a
if you say
terrible
so.
idea.
All right. Stand corrected.
We
Fair enough.
we
fair
want
enough.
we
Point
want
taken.
your damn opinion, so you'll be back after that show.
Yeah,
He'll-
You're gonna have
that's
to at
the
least watch
problem.
on TV. Damn it!
Yeah, oh yeah, I'll watch on TV. You don't, yeah, because
You will be on.
You don't want
You
me
will be
going.
on the Saturday after. If net neutrality dies,
Doesn't shut us down. Yeah.
yeah,
doesn't
you
shut
will
it
be
down.
on that Saturday after.
Oh yeah.
Probably-
I've already marked
Probably
it
will
down.
be celebrating with popcorns and whatnot, or
Mhm.
marshmallows.
Yeah. Well, is that the day after the Rumble, or I don't remember? Is it the day after the Rumble? I
When's
feel
the
like
Rumble?
it is. I think the third Sunday of January.
Third Sunday of
It
January.
would make sense because the Rumble is in Philly, so it would make sense for them to be in New York the next day.
Agreed.
Normally they do though. Normally what they do though at their one of the big four is they have all the shows in the same town.
No,
Oh yeah,
that's,
that's true. I
hmm.
don't know.
We'll have to wait and see, I guess. Because
Raw 25th anniversary. Barclays Center, Brooklyn, January 22nd.
okay.
And Royal Rumble is what on the 15th.
No, 22nd. That means 6 days. 6 days afterwards.
So it would be the 20. It would be the.
28th.
It'd be the. Let's see. Blah 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 blah. 25th anniversary show would be
The
22nd.
Monday before the Royal Rumble. So that's
exactly.
going to be the Royal Rumble go home show. Okay.
But well, I digress on that one. Well, considering
Let
that
us
we
talk NXT.
well,
God damn it.
well,
Oh, I'm
NXT,
okay with that. Sure.
NXT. I think-
NXT.
okay, go ahead, Taker. Finish what you're gonna say.
Thank you for not telling me
hmm
just how good the entire NXT from Wednesday was.
hmm
I watched it this morning and I was like, holy shit, especially with the main event.
Well, the
Cassius
main event,
Ohno,
the main event made you go holy shit rather than holy shit.
well, let's put it this way. All the matches that day, all the matches for that show were great.
Uh-huh.
Although I didn't like the finish of the Ruby Riot with 2 T's
hmm
and Sonya Deville match, but I understood. They made a point to tell you that grabbing the ropes was not going to break anything.
Which is something that they've forgotten to do in some other no DQ matches recently.
No holds
Yep.
barred. Yeah,
Yep.
So that's that was good that they remembered it this time.
yes, it was. To see her lose in a triangle choke, yeah, that looks legit.
It
A
does.
no holds barred match.
It does because, well, obviously Sonya Deville, formerly Daria Berenato, the MMA, so
Yeah.
she made it look good.
Also outed herself back at Tough Enough as a lesbian.
Yes.
Let's give her that prop. Let's give her those props.
Okay,
It took a big person to do that.
Absolutely.
absolutely, I agree. But
Let
I
us
think,
hope that the WWE don't screw it up.
Oh God, I hope not.
oh, I hope not, because it's going to be a tasteless thing to do if they mess it up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some things that involve sexuality that WWE does right, but there's a lot of things that involve sexuality that WWE did wrong. So
Very wrong.
So I'll give credit when they do it perfectly, like say Velveteen Dream or Goldust for that matter. So all points, all hopes for Sonya Deville.
It's a shame that I don't know if the injury is legit. If it is, Velveteen Dream get healthy as quickly as possible.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, but I think the biggest shout for the whole NXT would be the whole match between Johnny Wrestling and former Chris Hero.
Absolutely, yeah. That was
my God, that was a hell of a match.
That was
match of the week.
That was a superb match. Absolutely superb. They did. They tore the house down.
Yeah,
they did. They did an amazing job.
I'm sitting there watching it this morning with my jaw dropping over, going, and I'm going to say this, Chris. I know how much you can't stand it. Holy shit! Holy shit!
I accept. I mean, I don't appreciate it, but I accept.
I mean, you know I'm doing that to give you a bad time.
I know.
Because you know why? You know why I'm doing that? You know why I'm doing that, Chris?
Why?
Because I love you like a brother, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I mean, here's the thing, though. To those people, I think I would say this as well most of the time. We can accept the fact that we can't really see the whole independent scene Chris Hero on a regular basis now in NXT. I think that point to me has been stated clear. It does not mean, however, that Chris Hero, the independent Chris Hero, cannot resurface back out in NXT, and this shows it. And
well,
this match.
Go ahead.
Okay, and this match shows it because there's a general amount of stiffness in a hard-hitting match. It looked brutal as well as emotional, and I think this is. I think when people are saying that, complaining about how they can't see really Chris Hero in Cassius Ohno as Chris Hero back again in NXT, I think this is the spot that Cassius Ohno has made for himself, and he looks genuinely happy about this.
Yeah.
He was. I could see it in his eyes, and at the end, Johnny Gargano going over was, in my opinion, the right thing.
Yeah.
But the thing about it that match was like, I was looking for Cassius Ohno to turn, and he never did.
I don't think that they're going to, though, because I think that the whole reason why Chris Hero is back in NXT, why he is present with the company, is because he is right. I'm speculating wildly here, but my belief is that he came back to the company partially to be, Cassius Ohno again, but also to take the opportunity to pass his expertise and knowledge on to everyone else around him.
Exactly.
And I think that's an important thing.
I see him as a coach when he finally retires from the ring.
Oh, absolutely.
At the Performance Center.
I don't see why not. I don't see why that. I don't see why that reason of Cassius Ohno coming back to NXT wouldn't be it. Because I see that.
And seeing, and he has so much he can give to the kids, as Dusty would call them, the kids. Yep. He has so much knowledge to give.
He does.
It's brilliant.
He knows his shit like so few do, and he knows how to, make it work, and he knows how to impart that knowledge to others as well.
Well, it's almost like Mercedes Martinez.
Yes.
I would love nothing more for her to sign finally with WWE and go to NXT and teach the young women how the business works, because she has got so much knowledge. Look at what she did with Shayna Baszler.
Yeah. And Nicole Savoy.
Yes.
Both of them, yeah.
She both her and Cassius Ohno Chris Hero, whatever you want to call them, they have so much knowledge to give.
Mhm.
You know, reward these people. God damn it, reward them.
Yeah.
This is what wrestling needs. Is you take the old timers to teach the young ones how the business works.
Yeah.
That's me. That's me talking as a old fart at 53 years old, remembering back in the 70s, early 70s, the old timers teaching the young ones.
I agree.
Yeah.
And yes, those of you who were waiting for me to say old, have a shot.
Old school indeed. 2 shots for you. So, I mean, going through the whole match, if you want me to nitpick on it, I don't have any kind of nitpicks. Like I said, the match is stiff, the match is hard hitting, the match is emotional. I particularly like the spot where Gargano tried to trade strikes with Ono, and Ono just laughed and then answered with a senton, I think. I'm not mistaken.
Jesus, there was so much action in that match. It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the whole thing picked up with every near fall, and then suddenly, and then it just blew the roof off on more than one occasion. I mean, here's the story about the smaller, agile Johnny Gargano against the more bigger, the more experienced Cassius Ohno. I mean, these, not saying that both these two are not experienced, because these two are very experienced, even back before they entered NXT. It's just that Ohno has every answer to anything that Gargano threw at him. And that built up the emotion. That built up more than one occasion on the emotion. And I like that. And I like that in part of storytelling, because when you can connect, when two of your wrestlers can connect to a crowd on that kind of level of emotion, that elevates the whole match, even though the match is B+ at best. B+ or B at best. When you have those two characters, those two wrestlers who can connect to you on an emotional level, it elevates it up.
Yep. And the match was definitely not just a B+.
Oh, no.
The match was well beyond that. That was two guys who are at the top of their game, who are among the best on the planet, and they brought it like you wouldn't believe. It was an incredible spectacle. I loved it. I loved everything about that match.
I agree. I mean, there's nothing. It's the best way to cap off the week that was WWE with this kind of match.
Yeah.
I mean, Raw was great, and then you get brought down by SmackDown, and then if you watch 205 Live, paint by the numbers yet again. I'm not going to go delving too deep on that one.
I mean, there's a reason why I said that Enzo is my most overpushed person of the year, most overrated person, or was in my top 3 for the most overrated people of the year, because he is.
He
detracts so much from the show. I just can't stand it.
All right. But and then you return to NXT, and then NXT caps off with a great show as well. I mean, competing against Raw or NXT, if you put it up side by side against Raw, I think could be a little bit shade better than Raw this week.
Yeah, I would agree.
It could be a shade better Raw this week, even though I always say I'd say again that Raw seems to be the best show on the week.
But here's the problem right now.
Mm-hmm.
With next week, we've got Raw, SmackDown, an NXT show from 2 years ago. 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me.
Which, what they should do is air the most current canned show.
Yeah, I mean that's questionable at best. Either they wanted to kind of like,
if they want to promote NXT, put the most current show on. That will get the most eyes on NXT and would drive people to get the subscription to the network.
Yeah, if that is truly what they care about, that would be the thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised Trips is not arguing for that.
Oh, of course, because I think that would be out of his hands. I think the whole syndication and televised shows is probably out of his hands as a whole product. I think it's out of his hands.
But
for NXT,
I think NXT and 205 Live should combine and be a 2-hour show on Wednesdays. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, it's an idea.
If they want to get 205 Live over, do that.
Yeah, it's an option. I won't say.
Would you not agree with that, Chris?
I would agree. Yeah, absolutely.
It's an option. It's an option I could see. Just
It
that.
makes a lot of sense.
Vince, if you're listening,
Just like,
take notes.
just like yet again, will Vince listen? Will WWE listen?
You never
Judging
know.
from the track
You
record.
never know. Remember something that happened. MDS.
Mm-hmm.
I brought up something on one of our shows, and no shit, a week later, it freaking happened on one of the.
I'd have to back.
I can't remember what it was, but damn it, it happened exactly like I said a week later on the freaking one of the shows. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, I remember that. It's just that I don't remember which part of it was I predicted, and when it came out, you predicted it like 100%. It's that, and then what? We're just like, what the fuck?
And I bragged my ass off.
Yeah, you bragged your ass off throughout the whole show, I think. The old guy speaks, but when the old guy speaks, sometimes he speaks truth. There's a shot for you. Right?
Anyway, shot for everybody.
I digress. We digress.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris. Have a couple shots.
Yeah, I do not have any complaints.
I know it's early, but damn it.
I mean, even the whole CN Alma celebration party was short, sweet, to the point. It was great.
Yeah,
exactly what I needed.
The question I have is, could you understand him? I couldn't.
Of course, because he finished the rest of his promos primarily in Spanish.
Yeah,
Spanish isn't my strong suit.
It isn't mine either. But his accent was so heavy, it was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think that's part of his game.
Of course, it's tranquilo. He doesn't really give a shit.
No, he's El Idolo.
Yeah, he's El Idolo now.
Which means the idol.
Yeah. He's El Idolo now. So, but still, he's still holding strong with the tranquilo gimmick. So,
WWE, bring Rush in. Let's start a Los Ingobernables WWE.
Yeah, seriously. Let's do it, guys. Come on. Make it happen.
Oh,
do the right thing.
Could you imagine, Chris? Could you imagine
LIUSA?
LIUS.
No shit. You would be like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The ungovernables of US. Who would be in?
I would be all in for that. That would be a ton of fun.
And bring Rush here. The guy that people buy beers just to throw on him.
Mm-hmm.
I did not. But yeah, I mean,
which again happened, I think, this past Friday. I haven't checked it out yet, but I will look.
Nice.
Okay, nice. I mean, well, I think that will be it. The whole thing. I mean, there's nothing left to nitpick. I'm looking forward to NJPW, and of course, great news, great news. I'm going to Wrestle Kingdom 12.
Are you?
Yep.
You lucky bastard.
Granted, it's a shitty. It's one of the lowest price tickets, about 3,000 yen.
Hey, you know what? You're still going to get to see
I'm going.
What's likely going to be one of the.
This time it's 2 tickets. So I'm bringing her in along for the ride, and of course, no signs. I have to be polite. You know, to be still. Yes, you can boo, you can cheer, of course, but I'll try and enjoy the whole thing. Probably just.
I know you will.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Dude.
I'm looking forward to that. So
that's if we're still alive after Wrestle Kingdom 12, the only place to get a full recap will be on this show.
Well, I mean, a full in-person recap. We're going to be on my show. We're going to be talking about it that day, like at the day, like on January 4th. We're going to be on the air less than 12 hours after it's over to talk about it. But
the thing about it is that, Chris, I have the advantage.
Yes, you do. I won't lie. I won't lie. You certainly have the.
This is news. This is breaking news for Shootin' the Breeze.
I tried to keep it in, but I'm looking. Yeah, better just tell. Better just spill it out. I got the ticket finally.
Dude,
finally,
that's freaking awesome.
You're gonna be the most wanted person on podcasts
for that month. for that start of the month, and then no.
For sure. For friggin' sure.
And the answer, and I'm going to say this right now as your agent, the answer is no to any other one until after you are on this show. Damn it. Sorry, Chris. I love you like a brother, but
whatever, man. It's cool. It's cool. I don't mind.
Goodness gracious, this guy.
Nothing personal.
Handle, as I like to say, handle your business.
Yeah, handle your business as you would.
Handle your business.
Our business is getting the scoop on everybody else. Damn it.
Yep. Nothing wrong with that.
Granted, I will not go backstage or anything. I'm just gonna enjoy the whole show.
Why not? Why? I told you to request press credentials. Damn it!
No, I can't get press credentials if I'm a civilian. Number one, and number two, press credentials have already been given out.
Yeah.
So I'm too late for that.
You need to put your name in under this show for future.
Yeah. For future references, but yeah,
and I'm sure your girlfriend would be like, oh boy.
And here's the thing:
both of you can go in there, as far as I'm concerned.
Hopefully, because she's the bigger fan than I am. I'm just going in as a wrestling fan as a whole. She's the bigger NJPW fan, so she's.
Well, you better be a big New Japan fan after this, my dude.
Yeah, I stopped watching it, then I started rewatching it again. So. I'll hope for the best because I'm already enjoying the G1 specials and the G1 climax this year actually.
Good,
so
good.
Is that I catch up on I catch on it whenever I can. So that is another thing, but I digress on that one. Mm-hmm. I'm just stretching. This has been.
We need to wrap this up. This has been episode 23.
This has been fun, and actually, it's a great way of capping it off. I think. With a few laughs, a few giggles, until we, after we started off with a serious note and a more serious revelatory note.
Yes.
It needed to be addressed.
It did.
To be addressed, it needed to be.
Chris.
Yes.
Where can they find you, and what is that text number you brought up earlier?
All right, for ResistBot, if you want to get involved with getting in touch about net neutrality, ResistBot. You can text to 50409. That is the number to send your text to, and in the body of the text message, write the word resist, all one word, just the word resist, and then ResistBot will respond to you with instructions on how to proceed from there.
Okay. How can they find you, Chris?
How to find me? Well, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Hawaiian. You can find Two Guys One Sport live on YouTube. We also syndicate through iTunes. Feel free to check out our YouTube channel and find us on iTunes. You can follow the channel on Twitter at Two Guys One Sport, number 1 in the handle. If you want to follow me personally and my ridiculousness on Twitter, you can find me at CrazyChris576. I'm also on Twitch.tv at CrazyChris576, and that's where you can look me up for all of your nonsense stuff that you guys might want to hear from me.
And what show do you have on? It was what you said, Two Guys One Sport on Thursday nights.
Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. That is exactly the right.
Awesome.
Okay. MDS, where can they find you?
You can find me on Cage Side Seats. Also, you can catch me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is BeckyGotBank666. Thank you, God. Thank you, Swiss Last Kicker, for giving me that Twitter handle. I don't know. For 6 months, I've been holding this. I have no idea how I'm sticking it for so long. Well, there you go. And how they can catch you.
They can find me at Takers_Minion on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
They can also find the show on Shootin' the Breeze 1. That is Shootin' the Breeze, BREEZ, the number 1.
Because someone took Shootin' the Breeze, goddammit, as a Twitter handle.
Yes, someone took it from us, goddammit. That pisses us off. But anyway.
Jerks.
We also ask that everybody who has watched today to subscribe and like our YouTube channel, Shootin' the Breeze.
Uh-huh.
Don't forget the other shows that we promote. That is a Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling with Don Sal. Also, Something to Wrestle with Conrad Thompson and
What happens
Dr.
when?
Bruce Pritchard.
Oh.
And then What Happened When was also with Conrad Thompson and Tony Schiavone.
Yep.
And you got the other ones. I can't think of them off the top of my head.
Well, we've already promoted Two Guys One Sport. That's one. Chris has a wonderful show. He had both him and his podcast partner are insane, but they're insanely good. So
thank you.
If you want a more biased, a more crazy view on Japanese wrestling as a whole, ask them.
Yeah, we are a little we're a little emphatic about our.
You're the gaijins of the wrestling.
we are.
But, okay, and
no shame about it.
Yep. If you want a more intelligent view, you can go watch Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling with 14 Fitzpatrick as well as Sal Guzmano. These two are the more intelligent, the more easygoing listening. So those two are giving.
Although, yeah, I was gonna say this week it seemed like Don Sal broke out the beat stick a little bit for Elgin, which I'm very happy about.
He broke out the baseball bat.
He broke out the baseball bat. So okay, yeah, except for this week then. And then we also and then of course we have Cage Side Seats affiliated shows, Rudo Radio, Not Your Demographic, as well as Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Keeping Up with the Kardashians, my ass. Keeping Up with the
kayfabe.
There you go. And of course, considering that that Cage Side Seats also has a new show podcast called Bitter Boys Club, I think, if I'm not mistaken. The
new one that might be coming up shortly, the Violent Wrestling Podcast with
Ambrose Alley as well as Prince Moxie Lopez. And yes, actually that is correct. Bitter Boys Club with Brent Brookhouse and All Ego Ethan Page. They're now based in Cage Side Seats. If you want to catch them. Have a listen to every single podcast that we are promoting right now. We're just fans of the whole product. Anyways, this has been episode 23 of Shootin' the Breeze. Moment of reprieve. Well, my ass. Moment of not reprieve. We just blew the lid off from that one. And yeah, thank you, Crazy Chris, for joining us this week.
You're very welcome. Thank you guys for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure having you. So, for TakersMinion, I am Mr. Dr. Senju. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
See you later, folks. So long.